You will not believe what happened at this car dealership. What started as a routine visit turned into a moment that would change one man's life forever. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more true kindness tales that will restore your faith in humanity. Marcus Thompson had been working 2 jobs for years. A single father raising his 10-year-old daughter, Lily, he barely had time to breathe. Between late-night shifts at the warehouse and weekends delivering groceries, he had finally saved enough to buy a reliable car, a small victory in a life full of struggle. Today, he was at Goldstone Motors, a sleek dealership with polished floors and shiny cars reflecting the overhead lights like mirrors. Marcus felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. As he approached the front desk, the manager, a sharply dressed white man in his 40s named Richard, gave him a cold, appraising look. Marcus smiled politely. "Good afternoon, I'm here to test drive the 2019 Honda Civic I saw online." Richard raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a smirk. "Do you have an appointment?" he asked, the tone dripping with skepticism. "No, sir, but I called earlier and," Marcus began, but Richard cut him off. "I'm sorry, we can't accommodate everyone who walks in," Richard said, waving his hand dismissively. "You can come back when you've made an appointment like everyone else." Marcus felt heat rise to his face. He swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. "I've been saving for months, and my daughter really needs this car. Please, just a quick test drive." Richard's smile widened, but it wasn't kind. "I don't think you understand how things work here. Maybe you're not the kind of customer we cater to. Perhaps you should try somewhere else." Humiliation washed over Marcus. He had faced challenges his whole life, but being treated like a second-class citizen in front of other customers was a bitter pill. He glanced down at Lily, standing quietly beside him, her eyes wide with confusion and hurt. She whispered, "Daddy, why is he being mean?" Marcus bent down and whispered back, "Some people just forget to see the good in others, baby. Don't let it bother you." Feeling powerless, he turned to leave, dragging his feet across the glossy showroom floor, when a voice interrupted him from behind. "Wait." He froze. Richard had turned away from his desk, phone in hand, talking to someone. "Yeah, the new owner called. He'll be here any minute," Richard said, and then hung up. Marcus had no idea, at that very moment, his life was about to intersect with fate in a way he could never imagine. But before we reveal what happens next, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. This story only gets more unbelievable from here. Just an hour later, Marcus returned home, trying to shake off the humiliation. He sat at the kitchen table, Lily coloring beside him, her small hands smudging crayons across a sheet of paper. The dream of a car was still alive, but so was the sting of rejection. Meanwhile, across town, Richard was nervously preparing the dealership for the arrival of its new owner. A young investor, fresh from the success of a tech startup, had purchased Goldstone Motors. He was coming in personally to inspect the operations. Richard prided himself on running a classy dealership, but he was oblivious to the irony about to unfold. The doors opened, and in walked Marcus, not as a customer this time, but because he had received a call from a financial firm that morning. Marcus, unknown to anyone else, had inherited a small trust fund from his late grandmother. This trust fund was substantial enough to buy shares in the company. On a whim, he had invested in a promising opportunity, one that eventually led him to be part of the ownership of Goldstone Motors. Marcus entered the dealership just as Richard was giving a tour to what he assumed was the new owner. The man was young, well-dressed, and seemed impressed by the shiny cars. Richard straightened up, offering a rehearsed smile, ready to make a good impression. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Goldstone Motors," Richard said, extending a hand. "I'm Richard, the manager. Allow me to show you around." Marcus froze. The man in front of him was the same man who had humiliated him just an hour ago. Richard's jaw tightened. There was a moment of recognition, but before he could react, Marcus stepped forward. "Actually, I think there's been a misunderstanding," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. I'm Marcus Thompson, and I'm the new owner. The room went silent. Richard's mouth opened, then closed. His face drained of color. The other employees looked at Marcus with wide eyes. The very man he had tried to belittle was now standing as authority in front of him. Richard stammered, I don't understand. You own this place. Marcus nodded, looking at him squarely. Yes, and I want to make sure everyone who walks in here is treated with respect. Every single customer, no matter their background or what car they can afford. Lily, standing beside Marcus, smiled up at him innocently. Richard's heart sank as he realized the lesson was not just about business. It was about humanity. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Marcus embraced his new role, ensuring the dealership became a place of fairness and kindness. Richard, humbled by the encounter, worked hard to change, learning what it truly meant to serve people without bias. Marcus implemented programs to help struggling families purchase reliable cars. He personally sat down with single parents, veterans, and anyone who had been overlooked in the past. The dealership's reputation transformed overnight, not just for cars, but for the way people were treated. Richard eventually approached Marcus privately. I owe you an apology, he said, voice shaking. I treated you terribly, and I see now how wrong I was. Thank you for giving me a second chance to do better. Marcus smiled, forgiving him. Everyone deserves a second chance, he said. Kindness changes lives, not just for others, but for ourselves too. Word spread about the story of the single father who became the owner of the very dealership that once humiliated him. The community rallied around Marcus, inspired by his humility, perseverance, and generosity. Lily watched her father with pride. Daddy, you really are a hero, she said. Marcus hugged her tightly, realizing that the real victory wasn't just the cars or the business. It was showing his daughter that dignity and kindness are more valuable than gold. And that, my friends, is the power of true kindness. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more inspirational tales that remind us all how powerful compassion can be.